removing late payments. So the objective items that can appear on your credit report, because payment history accounts for the largest portion of most credit scoring models. When it comes to FICO, it's about 35% of your overall credit score, which equates to about 192.5 FICO points. This is why when you get a late payment, it'll drop your score very significantly depending on the age on the account and the type of the account, right? So again, even a single late payment can just significantly reduce your credit score, right? Especially if the rest of your credit profile is otherwise strong. Now, this module is going to focus on two primary strategies for addressing late payments. First is the goodwill adjustment request, and then the second one is the factual dispute based on the reporting accuracy of the actual account, right, and the payment history. So each method is appropriate under different circumstances. So first is the goodwill method, right? A goodwill adjustment is typically requested when the account is current, the balance has been paid in full, and the consumer has otherwise positive payment history. So if you have excessive late payments on one account, this method is probably not going to work. We'll probably have to use the factual based dispute method, right? In these situations, the consumer is not arguing that the late payment is inaccurate. Instead, what you're asking for is for the lender to remove the late payment as what's called a courtesy. Now, they're not required to do this, so I don't want you guys confused, expecting that, hey, you're required under some part of the FCRA or something like that. It's a courtesy, and they're going to use discretion based on your history with them. So the purpose of the goodwill letter is to request an appeal to the lender's discretion in customer service policies, right? Many lenders may remove isolated late payments for consumers that have demonstrated responsible borrowing behavior in the past. And this is why, this method typically only works if you have one or two, off late payments or something like that. So students may request the courtesy removal of the late payment, consideration of their overall payment history, understanding due to temporary hardship. And that's what you really want to kind of lean with. You don't want to lean with, oh, I forgot. No, you have to explain that you suffer some sort of hardship, like a medical emergency, financial emergency, or something like that. So factors that increase the chances of approval is lenders are more likely to grant goodwill adjustments when you, the consumer, has maintained a long relationship or history with that lender. The late payment was an isolated incident, right? The account is in good or current standing, and the balance has been paid off. Common hardship explanations. So you want to explain your circumstances this way, that you suffer some sort of temporary financial hardship. Maybe you lost your job, you got some hours cut. There's also medical emergencies, whether, someone in your household or you yourself, you transition jobs. Maybe there was a banking error or an administrative mistake. The request should always be written professionally and emphasize your intent to maintain a positive credit relationship moving forward, right? So method number 2 is factual disputes. So when this method is used, the factual dispute should be used when the late payment may have been reported inaccurately. And this is why you want to audit your credit report. You want to look at the payment history and make sure that all the credit bureaus reported the same late payment for that particular month. If they didn't, then you have something to run with. But you should never assume that the reporting is correct without reviewing and understanding your account records. So pulling your actual account record with that company is something that you want to do as well. So before disputing the late payment, you want to confirm whether the payment was actually late, right? This verification process may involve your bank statements, payment confirmations, whether it's text or email, lender payment history records you can request from them, and your billing statements. You should determine whether the payment was truly 30, 60, or 90 days past due, or whether the reporting may be incorrect. So again, you could pull your credit report, see how they're reporting between the bureaus, but you also want to make sure that you were actually 30, 60, or 90 days past due. Because if you paid 29 days after your due date, then technically, by law, you weren't 30 days late. And some lenders will mark you 30 days late, even if you paid after your due date. So you want to make sure that that's in good standing. So some common reporting errors, examples of potential inaccuracies may include payment credit to the wrong billing cycle, payment process but not recorded properly, right? Incorrect delinquency dates. So you want to cross-reference the delinquency date with the actual 2-year payment history where they may have marked that 30, 60, or 90-day late payment, right? Duplicate late payment reporting. Also, late payments reporting when the account was actually current, right? So if you can identify a reporting error, the late payment can be disputed and removed off your credit report. And this is how we typically get a lot of these late payments removed off of credit reports, right? So the legal basis for disputing inaccurate reporting, again, the responsibility for accurate reporting falls on the entity that furnishes the data. So this obligation is established under the Fair Credit Reporting Act, specifically Section 623A1A. This section states that data furnishers, meaning the original lender or creditor, may not report information that they know to be inaccurate, right? This is why you also want to put them on notice as well. Like, hey, this is reporting inaccurate, whether you want to call them or you want to do it in writing. Preferably, you want to do it in writing so that you have a paper trail. And if the furnisher becomes aware that previously reported information is incorrect, it must take steps to correct that report. So step two is to submit your dispute. So if a late payment appears to be inaccurate, you want to dispute the entry with the credit bureaus and the original lender reporting the account. And during the dispute, the furnisher is required to conduct what's called an investigation into the accuracy of that reported information. So some possible investigation outcomes: after they do the investigation, one of the following things may occur. The late payment is corrected, the late payment is removed, or they might just verify it is accurate. But if the furnisher can't verify the accuracy of the reporting, the credit bureau may just update or delete the information, which is kind of what we want. So some key takeaways, right? Late payments, they have a significant influence on your credit scores, making them an important, focus during the credit repair process. And what you want to do is approach the late payment removal using one of the two strategies that we just talked about, either the goodwill method, when the late payment is accurate but the account is in good standing, and or the factual dispute method, when there's evidence that the late payment may be inaccurate. And by understanding both of these methods, you can attack them both ways. You can use one or the other, but you can determine the most appropriate strategy based on the circumstances of each of those accounts. All right, so this was module 5. Now we're going to get into module 6.